Hello buddy, welcome back to another video. Today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams off-season so far, as today we're going to be reviewing the Pittsburgh Penguins, as they had a pretty quiet off-season this year, just losing a few of their players in the Seattle Kraken expansion draft, of course having the trade one in Jared McCann, and also losing out on Brandon Tanev as well. But you know, they made some quiet additions with Brock McGinn. They also brought in Dante Heinen, just some small little additions as they are pretty close up against the cap hit. But before we get into that, oh my lord, I'm twisting all my words up today, it seems like. But before we get into this video, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to slap that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. And also, I have officially made a Discord server for Peyton on the Radio. If you would like to go check it out, the link will be down in the description below. It's for all you guys who love to be my assistant general managers for my franchise modes. You can go help me down in there. And if you just want to come and chat hockey with me, or maybe potentially be in my live streams, come and check out the Discord. We might be having some chats live on stream where you guys could possibly join in for some fan live streams and to just talk in general, where I will most likely be there most of my day talking hockey. So if you'd like to come join, the link will be down in the description below. So instead of me rambling on about, you know, myself and the Discord channel, let's get into the Pittsburgh Penguins. As right off the get-go, we got some bad news. Sidney Crosby's out for like the next 6 weeks. I think this was like September 8th, so I only think he's going to miss, 2 to 3 weeks to the start of the season. So that still sucks, not have Sidney Crosby in the lineup, especially for training camp. And then also, Mcginn Malkin is going to be out for the next 2 months and won't be back until like the end of November. So already a lot of big losses right off the get-go for the Pittsburgh Penguins, which definitely hurts the team, going at the starting, because you definitely want to see this team have a fast start. But now, you're missing out on your two big players in Crosby and Malkin to begin the year. So let's get right into the Pittsburgh Penguins offseason, as Hextall really didn't do a whole lot, because, they didn't have a whole lot of money, but the one trade that they did do was trade away Jared McCann, and actually got Philip Howlander back, and a 7th-round pick in the deal as well. Now, Jared McCann was the only reason why he went to Toronto, was so, they could, get him selected to Seattle, and I don't know why Toronto necessarily did the deal. I didn't think it was the smartest deal in the world, but it was a big W for the Pittsburgh Penguins, because they were going to be able to get off a guy in Jared McCann who they knew that was going to be selected, and they got back a prospect in the deal, which wasn't a too bad of a move. Moving on towards the draft, this is, not a lot to talk about in this draft. They didn't, pick too many big prospects. Tristan Barnes was the only guy. He had a decent year in the UCHL with 51 points in 54 games. Not a bad season for him. But, their draft wasn't too fantastic, nor did they have a lot of picks. They did pick a lot of guys in the 7th round, but, not a fantastic draft for the Penguins, at least. The past few years haven't been fantastic drafts for the Penguins. You could just take a look at their prospect core. They don't got a lot of big names down there, to say the least. So we'll move right into the signings, which they did lose a decent amount of people. They lost Cody Ceci, who will now be going off to Edmonton, and they just weren't going to be paying him, that type of money, especially when you already got, 5 defensemen where you're paying them over $4 million. That's just not going to happen. Cody Ceci was a solid defender, but, with all those other defenders, you don't really have to worry about that. Brock Mcginn, which we'll be getting into later on. And then also Frederick Goudreau, which I think is a big, loss. He was a really good, depth center who threw up some really good numbers, especially offensively, and only having to pay him $1.2 million, like how I talked about it with Minnesota. I thought this deal was amazing, and I thought, Pittsburgh maybe even could have kept this guy moving forward, but, they lost him to Minnesota because they decided to go after Rodriguez, which I thought it would have been better suit to go after Goudreau and him be your depth centerman, I thought that would have been a better idea. But moving forward, we'll move into the rest of the signings, all the re-signings and all that sort of crap. So right off the get-go, they started off the offseason with getting Teddy Blueger back on the team for a 2-year, $2.2 million deal. I love it. He's a nice 3rd, 4th line centerman for the Pittsburgh Penguins, brings some really good defensive numbers to the team, plays a really solid defensive game. Offensively, he doesn't bring a whole lot of it, but when you have a really nice defensive forward like Teddy Blueger, and that's the way that they're kind of building their depth this year, bringing in players like Brock McGinn and Dante Heinen, those other 2 players are very good defensively as well. So I guess since we're talking right about him as well, we'll talk about Brock McGinn signing a 4-year, $2.75 million deal. And, I don't mind Brock Mcginn. I think Brock McGinn's going to be a really, really good player, but, he's not a bad depth guy. He wasn't throwing up a lot of points. He's not a big point guy, but his defense and his physicality is where, he is due's line. And I'm going to be showing you some of his analytics here by Jfresh, and make sure to go check out him down the link in the description below for his Patreon. He has amazing analytics up on there, so if you're interested in that, I would go check out his Patreon. But here's Brock McGinn's player card, and as you could already see, he has awesome defensive numbers and PK numbers. He did actually go up in his shooting percentage this past season, so once he's able to start putting that puck in the back of the net a little bit more, maybe you could start seeing some more offense from this guy. But his defensive numbers and his PK numbers are absolutely amazing. He doesn't take a lot of dumb penalties, and he faced off against some pretty good quality of competition. So this is a guy that, is a pretty good pickup for the Pittsburgh Penguins. If he's starting to able to find that offensive power, Brock Mcginn could be a very solid player for them. Is it a smart idea to sign him for 4 years and him be the Brandon Tanev replacement? I don't know. Signing these types of depth players to that, big of deal might be a big risk at some moments of time, but it's not a bad deal for the Pittsburgh Penguins there. And then also Evan Rodrigues. It's a mad move. He puts up some decent numbers. He's not a bad fourth line player. And then Dante Heinen, good PK guy, puts up some good defensive numbers. The past 2 years hasn't been, too fantastic for him, but he still puts up really solid PK numbers. And then a beautiful contract for Zach Aston-Reese. He was absolutely amazing this past year defensively, and that's just a beautiful contract for him as well. And that is it. Not a lot to talk about here with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They had a pretty quiet offseason, and you can already see that, the starting lineups going into the start of the season is going to be pretty rough going up the middle. They don't got a lot of big names. Teddy Bluger is going to be having to play second line minutes, which is not ideal for a guy like that. I mean, Jeff Carter's going to be playing up on the top line, which isn't too bad, but, Teddy Bluger is stretching it a little bit. Otherwise, their defensive core doesn't look too bad there. If Marino could have a bounce back year, Pettersson, continues to play good, and then Letang and Dumoulin. I think this team could be a good team. Last year they made it, they didn't make it past the first round, and you could say that maybe this team is starting to go downhill a little bit. And I could definitely see that, with Crosby and Malkin, they're only getting older. Like, they're 35, 34. They're not saying that they're reaching their end of their line. They still have a little bit left to go, but they are getting up in that, age where the injuries are starting to come a lot more. And Malkin was injured last year, and now he's missing another, 2 months this year. The injuries are starting to pile up on these guys. Is time due for these guys? And maybe is it the Penguins' time due here soon as well? We'll have to see. I think this team could be very decent, but they have to, have good goaltender there with Tristan Jarry. If he doesn't perform, I don't see this team going very far. I like the way that they did with their depth. They picked up a lot of good defensive players in Mcginn, Zach Aston-Reese, re-signing him, Dante Heinen. I really liked what they did offensively. They didn't lose a whole lot, so it's not like I could say anything bad about their offseason, but, they're starting to go downhill. But I can't say anything bad about this offseason because, they didn't do anything bad. The team is still the team that they were last year. They made it to the playoffs last year. It sucks that they don't have Crosby and Malkin in the lineup to start the season off, so I'm automatically going to give this team a B. It's right in the middle for me. I think they could have done a little bit more, but they didn't have a lot of salary cap because, the Michael Matheson contract and, other dumb contracts that they got on the team. But, this team could be a very good team once Crosby and Malkin get healthy and they start, getting implemented back in the lineup. We could start seeing some more success. But, I don't mind the start here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And, yeah, I'm going to give them a B. And I'd like to hear your guys' opinion down in the comments section below. But for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.